Hey guys, Dennis Ventura here, and today we're with Barb Peet. Hey Barb, how's it going today?
Very well, Dennis.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Thanks for being here. Today we're going to be talking with Barb Peet. She's a travel expert. One thing I want to say is imagine having a personal architect for every dream getaway you ever wanted. Imagine having someone who handles every detail so flawlessly, your only job is to pack. That's exactly who Barb Peet is. Barb has been helping travelers just like you since 1996. She is the founder and president of Just Vacations, a boutique agency known for crafting meticulously planned vacation adventures throughout Europe, Asia, and beyond. And today, what we're going to be doing with Barb is we're going to be answering some of the top questions around river cruising. Okay, so Barb, so happy to have you here.
Thanks, Dennis. My pleasure.
Yeah, and where does this show find you today?
Today I am in my office, Hanover, Pennsylvania.
Awesome, awesome. How's the weather out there today?
Pretty good.
Great, great. And right now, I think there's a lot of traveling going on, right? Is it kind of like peak season?
Oh my gosh, so many people. Yes, everybody's going on vacation.
Is there, if you were to kind of lay out the calendar, right? What is kind of like peak, low peak season? What are the seasons like for traveling via river cruises?
So with river cruising, it really depends on the destination. So Europe tends to be more popular during the summer months, end of May, June, July. With popularity means that there's going to be larger crowds. So that, if you are trying to avoid crowds, we go on vacation. We go in the fall months. Go either before the peak season or after the peak season. You're going to have a little bit better experience. Crowd sizes won't be as much. And chances are your prices are going to be better too.
Wow, awesome. So that's usually the fall. And that's actually a great time, right? I mean, how's the weather? How's the weather during the fall?
Weather in Europe is great. It's typically much like the mid-Atlantic would be. A little bit of dreariness sometimes. Depends where you're at, which river you're on. And the closer you are to the oceans and to the seas, those can be a little bit cloudy and gray and a little bit overcast. But that's okay because gray overcast skies makes your pictures pop.
I mean, that's great for, photography, and that's what everybody's doing, and taking video, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's kind of like an influencer of their own, right? For their family and stuff. Yeah. So what we're going to be doing today is, and we got these from a lot of clients that ask these questions, right? So we have like three categories. We have what's called like aware stages, when people are like kind of thinking of this, right?
Yes.
Then we have when people have like made a decision and they're looking to find somebody to help them with this. And then finally we have when somebody wants to get the specifics on exactly the cruise and everything like that. Those are going to be, it's going to be maybe almost 21 questions, Barb. So these are going to be pretty helpful for anybody out there that's really looking to get started. One thing that I think about before we get started with the questions is there's a lot of people kind of learn about river cruising, and obviously there's ocean cruising. That I think that's really popular, right? What would you say would be the top destinations out there?
So for river cruising, we're seeing predominance with Europe ever since the pandemic. Everybody wants to go to Europe. They want to, go back and experience. Some of it is heritage. They're going back to where their ancestors may have come from. Some of it is just curiosity of things that they've seen on TV, or they want to, they've always wanted to visit Paris, or they've always wanted to go to Christmas markets in Germany. It depends on the individual traveler and what their needs are and what their wants are. And that's where consulting comes in play for us. We will our clients, we typically sit down and have about a half hour to an hour long discussion about what they're looking for. And I'll run through some possibilities, do some, chat back and forth. And then after that call, then we sit down and I will finalize, get to pull together an itinerary, and then we send that off, get together again, discuss that. But generally my job involves a lot of consulting. I can probably spend more time with you than your doctor, which is good, because if I don't know a person, I don't want to make a recommendation that would be wrong. Every cruise line out there is different. Every cruise ship has its own personality, just like ocean cruising. There are certain ocean liners that are geared towards families, and there's some that are adults only. Size of ship. what kind of amenities are on board. So we're kind of getting into some of that within the river cruise concept as well. Some river cruise companies allow children, some do not.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a ton of valid points right there. What I was trying to figure out was, I know on your site you have a couple of locations that you tend to have, a lot of your clients go to. What are those locations?
So specifically, that would be the Rhine River, the Danube River, the Rhone, the Saône in France, the Douro River in Portugal. Those are the main rivers in Europe that our clients tend to like to go to.
Okay, awesome. Those sound like great destinations too. I would love to go to one of those. Which ones have you visited? Which ones have you visited?
I've visited all of them except for the Douro. That one's on my list in
Okay,
Portugal.
so that's kind of like a nice one. That's awesome. All right, let's start with some aware stages. So these are people that are kind of just getting started. They're just trying to learn about this. Maybe they just recently retired, right? And they have their bucket list, and they're like, okay, let's go ahead and start making some of these dreams come true that we've been working, all our life for, right? So the number one question that we found was, what is the difference between an ocean cruise and a river cruise?
Okay. An ocean cruise liner will have hundreds, if not thousands, of people on board. They will have multiple different restaurants. Some have 15 different restaurants on board. In Europe, the ocean cruises stay to the perimeter of the Mediterranean Sea or the Nordics countries and things like that. The river cruise lines, they sail through the heart of Europe. So you do not have to do an hour-long transfer from your ship to get to your primary destination. It is walk off the ship and you are right in town. You sail through the river, it's port to port, kind of like the ocean cruising. You do generally sail at night so that you're in the ports of call during the day so that you can go to the attractions and the castles and the wineries and what have you. River cruises, though, probably the biggest thing is the size. A river cruise ship is limited to the specific length and width of the ship in order to fit through the lock system. And a lock system is a ship coming in and dropping down or raising up to meet the next level of the river. The locks are designed, and all of the river cruises in Europe are set for that particular size. So you can't have a gigantic river cruise ship. It just doesn't exist. Otherwise, it wouldn't go very far. The ships are small. Most of them are about 140, 170. The maximum number of people that can be on a ship currently is 199 passengers. So that's passengers. So we're looking at, for instance, 140 passengers. There's only 70 cabins on board that ship. These ships are small, and because they're small, they sell out quickly.
Wow, that's interesting because I never really understood that. Because you look at these big liners, right? I mean, I think some of them, I'm in New York and we go through the West Side and there's always like the big Disney cruises, big kind of canard cruises and stuff. They're like what, 15 stories?
Oh, yeah. 15, 16, 18. Yes, definitely. They're huge. On board the river ships, three. That's all you have. You have three decks and then the exterior deck, but that's it. They're small. They're intimate, which is nice. You get to know your fellow passengers. On the bigger ships, yeah, some of them hold, they're small cities, 6,000 people on board. Chances are you'd never see another, like if you run into somebody on day one and have a conversation, unless you're seated at the same table, chances are you're not going to see them again at all because there's so many people on board.
Yeah, I mean, it's they always say they're like skyscrapers that are tilted over, right? And
Yeah.
like what you said exactly, like that's what I thought of when you started describing this, is like it's more intimate, kind of more of a sense of community. You're all traveling together, like you get to know people, maybe have good conversations, right? Where I think on a cruise, everybody's just trying to like, drink. And I mean, you still drink, right? Like, but like there's still a lot of partying going on. Don't get us wrong, right? But it's much more intimate. I think that's the perfect word, right? Much
Yeah,
more
it
intimate.
is. It's intimate. The dining seating is what we call open seating. So there's tables for 2, 4, 6, 8. On some lines, it's 10. You just go in, you grab an open seat and sit down and just meet your new best friend right next to you who's sharing a meal with you. It's great. And you meet people from all over the world.
Yeah, that's great. Really start to get a lot of experiences from other people. And this actually, while you're saying this, I also thought about this next question that is actually on the list, because you have like these big cruises, you're in the ocean. Somebody sent us a question saying, will I get motion sickness on a river cruise? Right. So that's the question. Will somebody get motion sickness?
Yeah, my husband is severely affected by motion. He medicates for every flight we take. Fun guy to be married to a travel agent. But he will you will not usually feel motion on a river cruise because you're surrounded by land on each side. There's no really open water. So I have been on ships and I've been chatting away with people on board, and suddenly I look up and we're underway. We're sailing, and I didn't even know we were moving. It's super smooth. Some of those rivers, the water is like glass, and you just sail right through it. Ship cuts through that water, and it's smooth. It's very smooth.
Well,
I've never
sounds
had anybody say it.
Yeah, sounds like a great kind of beginner cruise, because I can tell you, like for me, like my wife, she doesn't know how to swim, right? So she's kind of afraid of the water. And we talked about, you're out there in the ocean, and you always hear all these stories, right? Like, things going awry, or like everybody watched Titanic and that left an imprint, right, in their psyche. But this sounds like a river cruise would be the best beginner friendly for somebody, right?
Yes, yes. So all river ships, or all ships in general, they all have to have safety protocols. So they all have safety protocols. However, I remember my first cruise years ago, my first river cruise, and the captain, we all had a meeting at the beginning of the cruise, sitting in the lounge, and he said, "So let me give you your safety briefing. Your safety briefing is if there's an emergency, we pull over to the side of the bank, we put down the gangway, and everybody just walks off. That's it. It's so rare that anything major would happen. Could it happen? Of course. Things happen in our world, but it's just not conducive to,
Being out in the
like,
middle of the ocean.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Like we had one river cruise that I was on. Somebody had eaten something off ship, and she had an allergic reaction to it in the middle of the night. So about 2 o'clock in the morning, I felt our ship slowing, and I thought, we're going through another lock. Didn't think anything of it. The next morning, the captain came down to breakfast and said, so just so that you know, the reason we pulled over last night was because a passenger had a medical emergency. She's fine. She ate something and was allergic to it off the ship. She ate something in town, and she's already back on ship and doing well. So what happened was they pulled over, they called the ambulance, they pulled over, and the ambulance literally just came and met the ship on a side road, and took the passenger off, and away she went to the hospital, and she was back in a few hours. So it's really kind of like not being out into the wide open ocean. You're connected by land. Like you can see land all the time. So if somebody is afraid of being out there and being, in open water, it's just not happening out in a river ship. It just doesn't happen.
Wow. Sounds perfect for like beginners. All right, let's go to the next question. So this is actually the other end of the spectrum. Funny enough, we got this from somebody who travels a lot. Okay, they said, is a river cruise relaxing enough if I usually get travel burnout? Wow.
Okay.
Okay, travel burnout. They must be traveling a lot.
They must need a few vacations a year. All right. So if you have travel burnout, river cruise, you can do as much as you like or as little as you want. It's up to the individual passenger. You are not obligated to do anything. If you want to sit in your cabin or sit in the lounge or sit on the open deck for an entire week and not move off the ship, you are welcome to do so. The biggest problem that I think our customers experience is not burnout, but jet lag. So because the flights leaving the United States go over to Europe overnight, what we recommend our clients to do is that they go into Europe usually 2 nights, maybe 3 nights before their cruise starts. Do a little bit of land touring and then go on. Then we have them go on to the, meet up with the ship. Those are what we call pre-cruise arrangements. We're happy to do that. We customize them so that everything is for our customer is aligned with their.
Okay, I mean, I never heard of travel burnout. What is that? Is that real? Like,
I have not heard. The only thing I've heard of travel burnout is from our road warriors, corporate men and women who travel out of, live out of a suitcase for a good portion of the year. That can become very, very daunting. And I think that travel burnout, if it's in the way that I think of it is that you're rushing from point to point to point. With a river cruise, you're not doing that. Once you are in your destination, head over to the ship, and then you're in your cabin, you unpack once, and then you're good for the entire week or 10 days or 14 days, depending on the itinerary. So that's the only thing that I could think of is that it's travel burnout where they're going from point A to point B to point C, and so that it's a constantly moving thing. A river cruise generally is not like that.
yeah. Yeah, sounds great. So next question we have is, and this kind of is a little bit continuation of kind of our first question, which was, do river cruises feel crowded like big ocean cruises?
No. When you only have 170, 140, or 99 people maximum, no, it does not feel crowded. Ships are all built so that they comfortably accommodate all of the passengers. I've never experienced a overcrowded ship. They are capped at capacity, whatever the capacity of that particular river ship is, and that's it. That's all you get. You have getting on and off the ship, for instance, like doing shore excursions or something like that. There could be a little bit of a bottleneck because for security purposes, you're presenting your room key, which is encoded with your picture on it, and you're giving it to ship's personnel, and they're swiping it so that in their system, they know that you are off the ship. And then when you come back on, of course, you swipe again. But that's the only type of bottlenecks that we see would be getting on and off the ship. And it's just because of the swiping of the room keys, the IDs,
Yeah,
nothing else.
it just sounds like a much more pleasant experience than a big cruise. Yeah.
Yeah. Even like the entertainment, there's always places for you to go and to sit. There's always enough room for everybody to sit down and, like listen to a port talk or listen to, a musician or, or a vocalist or whatever the evening entertainment is. There's always room for you, for everyone.
Awesome. I don't know. You might sell me a river cruise after this. Sounds
Hey,
lovely. Sounds lovely. All right, let's talk about one of the main attractions of vacationing. It's the food, right? It's all about the food. So, what kind of food is served on a river cruise?
great question. I love this one. So what type of food is served? Generally, the river ships will have what we call a rotating menu. So for instance, if you're starting up in Amsterdam and you're going down to Basel, the featured meals or featured entrees will be something that is something representative of that area. And then as the ship progresses through the different areas, the menu changes so that you're going from, something from dishes that are, well known and, like homemade type dishes in Amsterdam, the old comfort food down into, Germany, where it's going to be a little bit more hearty and stick to the ribs kind of thing. Then when you get down into Switzerland, you're going to get food that is more Swiss oriented. The wine that they serve on board also changes as you go through the rivers so that you're experiencing more local food and wine. Now, you're going to say, but Barb, what if I don't like hearty German food or wherever, French or wherever? That's okay. There's always something on the menu, generally 3 items that are always available. And it's usually like a chicken, a meat, and a fish. And those are always there. And I love to experiment with my taste buds. So I generally will go with the food that is offered for the area that we are going to go through or have already gone through, for instance, in that day. But occasionally it's like, yeah, I really just don't feel like having these options. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to order a piece of fish or chicken or whatever. Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, I never knew that either. Because I mean, you think, yeah, when you're traveling, you want to kind of experience. That's part of the whole experience, right? It's not only the environment; it's also the taste, the
Exactly.
smells, right? So, and then the main thing that if you're traveling just ad hoc, right, you kind of have to wing it, and you don't know what you're going to get, right?
Right. Food is a very subjective subject because what one person likes, the other person may not. But in general, the food is high quality. I've never had somebody come back and say, boy, howdy, I did not like anything there. Usually it's, oh, we tried to hire the chef, or we tried to get their recipes for whatever dish it was. Yeah, and then, well, let me kind of I'll hit also on breakfast and lunch. So dinner is always kind of a changing menu. Breakfast and lunch, breakfast is always a buffet. You can, in some cruise lines, order off the menu. That's fine. If you want to order off the menu, you don't want to have the buffet. The buffets, they're not typical hotel type buffets. They're very large for the size of the ship. You'll always have like cereals. You'll have hot cereal, probably like an oatmeal sort of thing. You may have eggs on the buffet, bacons and sausages, potatoes, fruit. If you're more of a lighter eater, those options are also there. But then if there's something special, something that really can't be placed onto a buffet and hold well, for instance, like eggs Benedict, those just don't seem to work on a buffet. But a lot of the cruise lines will have individual things that you can order off the menu, and then fried eggs, that kind of thing also. Lunch is generally served also partially buffet style. So it's usually like soup and salad would be on the buffet, but then your main entree is served table side. And while I'm here and we're talking about food, most of the cruise lines that our customers like, they serve beer and wine with lunch and dinner for free.
Wow. Okay, that's definitely a big, especially if you're going through France, right?
Yes. Oh
You
my
get all
God. Yes.
the delicious wine from France.
Yes.
So, and you get to try it. So, I think that's a huge value add that you get the food and you get to try it based on the environment. That's huge.
Absolutely. Yeah. And one of our preferred suppliers, they even have a happy hour, obviously right before dinner. So you could come in and order your cocktail and things like that. I'm not a big drinker, but I will have a cocktail every now and then, and I do like my wine. I love wine. And what happens is my bar bill is usually nothing because I'm having wine with lunch, I'm having wine with dinner, and I might grab a Diet Coke or something like that at the bar. That's it. Coffee is always available. They have coffee stations that are available 24/7. So you can go make your cappuccinos or your lattes, whatever.
Great, great, awesome. And I think that also is a great segue for our next question, which is about cost. Are there any hidden costs on river cruises?
So it's going to depend on the cruise line. Most of the cruise lines that we offer, that our customers like to book, they are pretty much all inclusive, except the occasional bar beverage outside of happy hour or a mealtime. Gratuities. This just recently changed where gratuities in the EU no longer can be included in in river cruises and prepaid. It was fought pretty hard with a number of our preferred partners, but unfortunately, the EU is the EU. And so now you just pay the gratuities on board the ship. Optional insurance is never included, always recommended because we never know what we're going to run into. Some of our cruise lines include, all of our cruise lines include at least one shore excursion per port per port. So if there's two ports in a day, you're getting two shore excursions. They are what they call, they're included. A couple of our cruise lines charge for premium excursions. Those are generally pretty inexpensive. $150, I think, was the most I've ever come across. And some of our partners, they include all excursions, whatever they're offering. So it depends on the individual company, the cruise line. and how they're running their business. Yeah, you can. I mean, there are cruise lines where they are 100% all inclusive, including bars from sun up to sundown, not just during, happy hour or mealtime. So if you want a mimosa in the morning, then that cruise line, there are cruise lines that would automatically include that. But if you're not a big drinker, maybe think about going another way.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the gratuity is something interesting. What I tend to do when I go on vacation is I tend to find like the person that's going to be in charge of my area or the room or something like that, get to know them, learn their name, and then, kind of give them a gratuity in the beginning, kind of let them know, look, I'm going to take care of you, take care of me, you know what I mean? And that usually works out really well, and you get great service. And, at the end, you're even happy to give them even more because they did, it was just
Right.
such special service.
Right.
So, I mean, that's my travel tip. But
Yeah, it's a good travel tip. In Europe, though, they kind of make a living wage, so they're not so focused on the gratuities. Um, you're There's one, maybe two bartenders for the entire ship. So, they're well trained, they're courteous to everybody. I've never come across an experience where any of my traveling clients have had a bad experience. And they know how to serve, and they joke with you and stuff, and they're going to know your name before you know their name. I don't know. It's amazing how they do this, but they do it. And your cabin steward is generally your cabin steward throughout the whole journey. And they have a set schedule that they have to do. And they'll come in and service your cabin in the morning. And then again in the evening, they'll do turn down and things like that. Yeah. If you want to tip extra, believe me, they will not say no. It's up to you. Tipping is very subjective also. It's personal.
yeah, yeah, and that's also another tip. Like if there are only like two bartenders, they get to know you, and they're gonna take care of you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, awesome. So those are all the questions of people when they're just getting started, trying to learn if this is something they want to do. Let's move on to the questions where people are kind of like they've made the decision, they want to go on a cruise, and then they're just trying to get a little bit more. Kind of they're deeper in the sales cycle, I would say, right? This would be in terms of where they're going to go first, right? So, which one would be the best European river cruise for first timers to go?
Would say the Rhine River or the Danube River. The Rhine has a lot of castles on it, and that's generally what a lot of our customers want to see is they want to see the castles alongside the river. So that's usually for first timers, the Rhine or the Danube. Danube has castles as well. Generally it, like will end in Budapest or begin in Budapest, and traverse the Danube River. Those generally, though, are the two most popular ones for first timers, unless you are a wine lover. If you're a wine lover, then I'm going to suggest doing a France river cruise, down the Rhone, the Saône, or even into the Burgundy area. Gorgeous, gorgeous area. Or there's the one that's still on my bucket list is the Douro in Portugal. So
Wow.
those would be my go-tos, depending again on the customer's interests.
Wow, those are great. I mean, you said some amazing things there. Like for example, with like the castles, right? Like that's so. I mean, you almost go back in time to
You
another
do.
time, obviously, and you're seeing the castles. A question that I would have would be like, okay, do you have like first of all, like I know you can't really give the number exactly, but how many castles do you think there are?
I have so many pictures. That's a good question. I'd have to go back and count. Probably uh, 15, maybe.
Wow.
15 sounds like a pretty good number, maybe. Some of them are intact, some of them are not. So, like the ship, as you're going through the area, the ship, the captain or, the cruise director will point out highlights of the area and say, to your right is this castle, to your left is this castle. And some of them are nothing but ruins and you can barely see them. Pair of binoculars, pack those. Or if you have a really good lens on your SLR camera, pack that. Or your cell phone, if it has a really good high zoom, then you can do that on your cell phone. And then some of them are literally like right there. Can't miss them, can see it with the naked eye.
Yeah. And then for me, like I think of like if I wanted to go on a first one with my wife and we wanted to make it like intimate or kind of like celebrating something, the French one with if you're going through Burgundy, are you kidding
Burgundy.
me? That sounds
Yeah,
delicious.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then you pair the food with the wine.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
sounds like a great
It's
time
a
to me.
1-2 punch, man. You
Yeah,
can't beat that. Yeah.
sounds like a great time to me. All right, so let's see what else. What's included in the price when somebody would come to you and you would help them book this? What would be
Okay.
included in the price?
All right. So, airfare is not included because so many of our customers have airline points or credit card points and they just want to use up their points. I will say if you have travel points, use them. They don't gain any interest, so they tend to devalue, especially the airlines points. They devalue them frequently. So use your points to get to your destination. What is included in the base price of river cruise? It is your cabin accommodation, all meals on board the ship, all snacks. Again, depending on the river company, is wine with lunch and dinner. Again, depending on the line, cocktail hour, port charges, government taxes and fees, and then at least one shore excursion per port of call.
Okay.
That's
So,
about what's included. Yeah.
and absolutely use your points, people.
Use your points.
They're not gonna gain no
Boy,
interest.
howdy. Yeah.
All right, this is a great question too. What's the difference between all of the river cruise lines? And I guess if you could name some of the ones that you think are kind of in your list, and then say like what's the difference between them and another one, I think that'll be helpful.
Okay. Viking River Cruise is probably the most well-known brand in the US market. They have the lion's share of the market. They have over 50% of river cruises in Europe. Viking. They have so many ships. I've lost count because each year they put in 3, 4 ships a year
Wow.
that they float out, and they're very popular. The other ones would be AMA Waterways, AMA Waterways. They are a California-based company. Those tend to be a little bit smaller ships. Those are some of the more boutique ones. Viking has some that are small as well. The AMA ships, the design of the hull is different than the Viking ships. So the Viking ships have a deeper draft versus the AMA ships and tend not to have a problem in lower high water situations unless
What
it's
what
an
is what is
extreme.
draft for those that
A
don't
draft
understand?
is literally just the hull of the ship and how deep it goes into the water.
Okay.
So I could think of the boats that you used to play with when you were a kid in your bathtub. Some of them were kind of flat bottomy. Some of them had a deeper hull to it, and that's all the draft. That's all that it is. It's just the hull of the ship.
Okay.
Avalon Waterways is another one. That one is another very popular option. They have a wellness program on their ships as well. Um, you, um, Uniworld, they're more of the all-inclusive type ship where, like all drinks and everything is included for you. Though in our market, Tauk is another one that is another competitor to AMA on Viking and Avalon. For something that's really high end, scenic would be high end and a competitor to Uniworld, where it's more all inclusive. That when I started in this business and started selling river cruises, there really weren't many to choose from. And now, oh my goodness, like every year there's somebody new coming in. Celebrity Cruise Line is going to launch their first river ship next year.
Wow. Okay,
So
so they're getting in the game now.
they
They see the
are.
opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's something it's interesting. It's going to, see what happens, can they do what they do in ocean and convert it to river, or do we stick with the old tried and true ones? And old, I mean, in parentheses, they're not all that old, but yeah, it's an exciting time on the rivers. Definitely an exciting
Yeah.
time on the European rivers.
And obviously this is something that you help your clients with, right? When they're coming to you, this is what you do. You go through like a whole Why don't you talk about that a little bit? Like, what do you do if somebody came to you in person and asked you this question?
So if someone comes to me and says, Barb, we want to do a river cruise, the first thing I'm going to ask them is, what research have you done? And then find out where they're coming from. And then I'm going to do more of a deeper dive into what they want, because what they think they want may not exactly match what would be a good trip for them. For instance, if they want to be kind of more quiet and sedate and stuff like that, maybe the Avalon might not be their best choice. But again, it depends on each individual. So my job is to sit down with them and do that analyzing, consult them. We have an intake form that I swear it's over 30 questions long, and a lot of it's just basic info, but a lot of it's, like diving into their past experiences with travel. Where have they been? What have they liked? What haven't they liked? What's for this trip? What is the core purpose of the trip? Is this a bucket list trip? Is it a celebration trip? Celebration of an anniversary or birthday or retirement or something like that. Is it a honeymoon? It depends on each client is different. So we don't pull, like, oh, this one's going to fit this person and this one is going to fit that person. So what everybody sees online may not be in their best interest.
Yeah. And I mean, that's definitely your intake form. I mean, with 30 questions, you get to the heart of what somebody's trying to find. And it's taken you so many years to come up with, okay, these are the top questions to ask to really understand, right?
Exactly.
Anybody that's watching this, if they want, Barb's help, just go to just-vacations.com and fill out the form on there. I can tell you from experience also, Barb gets back to you right away. If you call her on the phone, or if you send an intake form, she'll get back to you, as soon as possible. So I'll definitely go there, just-vacations.com. All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and go to this next question. Can I add land extensions before or after my river cruise?
Absolutely. We were talking about it earlier about a pre or a post portion, before or after. A lot of it, the cruise lines will have things available that, we could automatically add. But is it really right for you as the traveler? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, usually what we do is we design our pre and post so that it fits exactly what the customers want to see and what they want to do. For instance, let's just use the Amsterdam thing. If the customer is not interested in the museums and just want to, like kind of tool around town, maybe go out and like visit a tulip farm or something like that, if that's on their list of things, yeah, we can make that happen. It depends on what everybody wants to do. So we specifically custom design pre and posts for our customers for their interests.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So yeah, that again, just go ahead and check out just-vacations.com and you'll get that intake form. So let's go ahead and go to the next question. And I think we answered this one in the beginning, but it's coming up again. A lot of people want to know this. What is the best time to take a river cruise?
Okay, so yes, the most popular times of the year to travel to Europe are June, July, and August. However, myself, you will not see me there because I don't want to deal with all the crowds. I prefer to travel off season when the kids are back in school. Two reasons, not only because the crowds are low, um, but also because the prices are better off season. We're almost to the point where you can river cruise in Europe year round, almost. So that will happen very shortly. Going to Europe in the winter time, if you're going in to, see the museums, who cares what the weather's like outside?
Right.
Just go on. I was in Europe in March and, we got a little bit of snow one day. It was fine. It was a few flakes here and there. It wasn't a blizzard or anything like that. But yeah, it's depends, June, July, and August, because everybody's like, well, I want good weather. Okay. Then that's when you're going to go. If you're retired though, I really would suggest thinking off season, September, October, November. great times to go. April, May, beginning of May, great times to go. Again, avoid those school crowds.
Yeah, and I think that's well said because your core clientele, right? I mean, a lot of people who are retired, kind of, this has been something that they thought about for a long time, and who wants to go on vacation and be annoyed? I mean, that's the
Right.
worst, right?
Yeah.
So, take Barb's advice and go, depending on where you're going, follow her advice, and she'll steer you the right way, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So
We're patterned. I think travelers are thinking, well, but I always vacation in the summertime because maybe the plant was closed, or well, that's when our kids were out. Yeah, that's fine. Leave that to the next generation. If you're empty nesters, or you don't have children, gosh, look at those other times because it's just going to be a better experience, I think, in my opinion.
yeah, there's no specific time. You could dictate the time that you want right now. That's the whole point of it. Yeah. All right, let's go to some cabin questions. So, do cabins on the lower deck feel noisy or cramped?
Okay, so the cabins on the lower deck are generally partially underwater, and you'll have a window above. Some of the ships have larger windows. I have been on a few, and I've been in those cabins where, in order for me to see out to see if it was what the weather was like, I would have to climb onto the bed and jump up and down to look and see if is it raining, or is it sunny, or what's the story with the weather, if I not dressed and can go up on top. Are those cabins noisier? In my opinion, they are. Again, I've stayed in those cabins. They are noisier, especially when you're going through the lock system. You can hear the water rushing and things like that. Eventually, I got used to it, by about day 3, nights 1 and 2. I did not get great night's sleep, but yes, eventually I got used to the sound of the ship and was okay with it. But yeah, you do hear the ship when you're in those cabins just because they are a little bit underwater.
Yeah, so also depending on how much time you're going to spend in the cabin, right? Like,
Yeah, some point, like some of them, some of these smaller cabins are 135 square feet, including the bathroom. So if you're traveling with your best friend, you guys better be wonderful dance partners, because you're going to have to maneuver around each other while getting to the bathroom. My husband and I, we've been in those cabins, and it's like, okay, who's first into the bathroom? It's like, then that person will go, and then the other person will stay in bed until the other one's ready, and then we swap places. We do the dance, sliding by each other, trying to get to the bathroom or trying to get into the main portion of the bedroom. So yeah, it's one of those. Yeah, they're small. It's
it's a
just part of it.
compromise. If you want to put a compromise on the trip, maybe it's a cost thing. Maybe you've kind of done a couple of trips already, that year. Maybe this is kind of like the 4th trip that you're doing this year, right? And you're just like, hey, I've been on some great ships. I'm just going to compromise a little bit. Maybe it's
Yeah,
a good fit at that time.
exactly. If this is on your bucket list, and if you're like, gosh, really can't afford to do the French balcony or the double balcony thing, okay, that's fine. Then go ahead and book the inside cabin, well, view cabin and ocean, fixed window cabin is what they're usually called, is fixed window. Those windows do not open, by the way. They do not open. But yeah, you can go ahead and you can book that. If that's the only way that you can make this, bucket list wish happen, oh my gosh, just do it. And like I said, it only took me 2 nights to get used to the rhythm of the ship and sleep through the night. Just, or if you're a heavy sleeper, well, that's fine too. Then if you're the kind of person who can sleep and like have your buddies move you when you were like sound asleep and you woke up in a different place, you'd be perfect for that. So you'd be perfect for those one of those smaller cabins down there. But yeah, it's it depends.
Yeah, I think
It's doable.
that's a good way to kind of explain that. So, all right, let's go to a really important question. How accessible are river cruise ships for mobility challenged guests?
Okay, this is a tough question. because Europe is not ADA compliant, American with Disabilities Act. American is the key word here. They are not really capable of handling anyone in a wheelchair. The river sometimes is rather high, and the gangway to get off the ship could be at a very steep angle. I was in a walking boot last year, and I came back to my river ship, and it gained 10 feet during the 4 hours I was gone. And I was like, okay, this is going to be fun walking up this thing. So made it up. I was very slow, and I had everybody just like, you guys go ahead, bypass me. There are elevators on the ships. They do not go to the open decks. So if somebody has a mobility problem, if you can, if you walk with a cane or something like that, usually those people are fine if they walk with a cane. If they are in a wheelchair, probably not a great fit, because they don't have the capacity to, they don't have wide wheelchair, rooms and things like that. So if something like that were to happen, I would suggest, instead of doing a river, just to do an independent vacation through Europe.
And does that go also for I remember them being called larks or like scooters, right?
Yes, yes,
Does that go also for somebody who's using one of those?
yes. Probably more so, just because the hallways are small and narrow. The rooms are very tiny.
All right, let's go to the product aware stage. So these are questions of travelers who have like a short list, and they've kind of settled on a line that they're trying to go to, and they're just looking at purchasing factors like features and benefits.
Okay.
So number one, is a balcony worth it on a river ship?
I like to have a balcony room because I like to be able to open the door and, let the fresh air come in. I also like to, if it's an exterior balcony room, I like to be able to get a coffee and go sit down, or grab a glass of wine and go sit down on my balcony and just watch the scenery go literally right past my window. So I do like the balconies. If you're sailing in the middle of winter, how much are you really going to use that balcony, that exterior balcony? Probably not a lot. But the French balconies, so we have two types of balconies in the river ships. So you have an exterior balcony, which is, you open your door and walk out, and it's a small balcony with table and two chairs. Small is the word. Or a French balcony, which is a door window that opens up the entire interior of the cabin to the fresh air. And then there's a railing, safety railing out there. You would just pull your room chairs up to the window, and you could watch the scenery go by. That's the two different types of balcony. I would definitely book a French balcony for a December cruise, just because I like having fresh air. So you could just drop the windows or open the door, depending on the design, and you can air out the room or just bring that fresh air in. I think it's a great benefit. It's bringing the outdoors inside.
Okay, then so that I'm clear, because this is new to me also. The French one is similar to like a sliding door on a patio where you open it
It could be.
and
It could be.
right, and then there's no seating outside. You're just opening and letting the fresh air in.
Correct. Correct.
Right? And then the other type of balcony that's called
Just an exterior balcony.
exterior balcony, that's where you actually have some small chairs. You could sit outside, have something to drink, enjoy everything passing by.
Some of the river ships are designed so that the door, it's like a French, like a door to a patio out, from your home. You just slide that door, sliding door, floor to ceiling windows. The others, some ships have, it's all window, huge window, and then the window mechanically drops down. You just press a button and hold the button, and it'll just drop down to the safety railing. And then that brings the fresh air in. So yes. Now, I will say on some ships, if it has that drop down window, and if you're seated in a chair, depending on how tall the individual is, might be a block view because that safety railing might be in your way.
Okay. And then in terms of price, the difference in terms of price?
Usually a whole lot of difference, usually between the two, a few $100 difference. Not a big deal.
Okay. So I mean, to me, it sounds like the exterior is the one to go for if
Depends
you're
when
going to
you're
go for it.
going.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. So how far in advance should I book to avoid a sold out cruise?
Great question. As early as possible because these ships are so small. Like I said, some of them 70 cabins. That's not a lot. Everybody's like, "Oh, the average price of the average like Holiday Inn Express, Hampton Inn, those types of buildings, they have about 150 rooms. So you're thinking less than that. So I encourage my customers to book well in advance so that they get their choice. You don't want to get stuck with the leftovers. So, especially if you're looking at a suite, there's only 2 suites on most ships. Those sell first. If you want a suite, you got to book those at least a year in advance, at least. And even some of them now, we're seeing that they're sold out. We're looking into bookings 2 years from now already. So those tend to sell out first.
Yeah. So book early. I think that's sound advice for any kind of trip.
Yeah.
You get the best options, availability, and I think pricing also. So let's see. Next question? Is it cheaper to book directly on the cruises sites, just DIY, right?
Mhm.
Or to have an expert with the knowledge and expertise and the white glove service like yourself? Would it be better to do that or just do it yourself?
You're hired. Okay. So here's the difference. Everybody thinks, oh, if I DIY it, I'm going to save myself money. Generally, that's not the case because we belong to a consortia, and our consortia has a lot of pull with these cruise lines, and we have specials that are not publicly available to the general. They're not available to the general public. So if you go on and book it on your own, boy howdy, good for you. But do you really know you're getting the best deal? You don't, because you don't know what we have available to you. Some of them may include reduced rates, reduced deposits, could include shipboard account money, so that if you want to buy a couple of drinks or if you want to buy something in the ship shop, or if you want to take an extra cost excursion, it's there for you. So no, generally no. And if something goes awry, you are definitely on your own if you do not book it through a travel professional. I'm not even saying you have to book it through me. Book it through a travel professional who has had a ton of experience, who's sailed these ships, sailed these rivers, and know a ton about this industry. Book it with somebody that you trust.
Yeah, especially I look at it like, do you want to guess that your trip is going to be a great trip, or do you want to absolutely know that it's going to be a great trip?
Right. See this gray hair? This gray hair did not come from my children. It came from me worrying about my customers and making sure that they are all okay. Um, our customers all get an app for free, and in the app, they have their whole entire itinerary, including their flights, any pre or post cruise arrangements. It's all going to be at your fingertips. But what our customers like the most is that it is a direct communication link to me. So my customers book a trip with me, they get the itinerary, they approve the itinerary, then they get a magic link to download the app to their phone, and then we're off to the races. Then I can message them. They can send me pictures, they can send me messages. If what happens after hours, I get a text on my phone, and yep, my phone is at my head when I sleep. So even if you're 8 time zones away, I'm still there for you.
Yeah. And I know this personally, people, because I've called Barbara and she's like, look, I don't have time right now. I'm dealing with an emergency. This needs to get done. and the fact that she has the app. And also, there's something that you didn't mention. You actually help people with understanding how to use the app, kind of really, like I said, it's white glove service that you're going to get. You're going to get somebody who actually cares that you have a great trip, not just trying to sell you a ticket and then next. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so definitely get in contact with Barb at just-vacations.com. Let's go ahead. We got a couple of left over here. And this one seems interesting too. Can I upgrade from a French balcony to a suite at the pier?
Generally, that suite's going to be sold out for years. So, no. Book what you want. Don't bank on another cabin going to be available because these ships are selling out completely. Book exactly what you want. We don't get upgrade notices like we do with ocean cruises, like, oh, we have, you can bid on an upgrade for a suite, on a river ship. That's something that just doesn't happen in the industry. I've never seen it. And since well, we haven't had river cruising that long, but yeah, since river cruising began, it's just something that just doesn't happen. So yeah, no, don't count on an upgrade. Doesn't happen.
Look, you've been waiting to do this, all these years. Just get it done right. And if you go with someone like Barb, she's going to make sure to get you everything that you need and then make it a great trip. So let's go to the next one. How early can I choose specific cabin numbers?
Right away. We can book you a cabin number immediately. A lot of the ships, they don't do guaranteed cabins like you see on ocean cruises. We know exactly, like I have a family going, all adults, going on a trip next year, and they want 4 cabins in a row. I was able to get 4 cabins in a row because they booked early and they got exactly what they wanted. And I was able to get all their cabins in a row. So yeah, book early, do it. And you will get your cabin number immediately.
Yeah. The early bird gets the worm.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
All right. So let's talk about deals. So are last minute deals risky because of limited cabin selection?
Yeah, we don't see a whole lot of last minute deals in river cruising because they're sold out. It's just something that, just like upgrades, it just doesn't happen a lot. So we've got, can it happen? Sure. And anything can happen in our world these days. But it's one of those things that 3 months out, I did have somebody call the other day, and I searched high and low and I couldn't find them a cabin for 3 months out. So don't
Yeah.
wait. Do it now.
Yeah. Do it now. Do it early.
Yeah.
And let's see. Here's another good question that's interesting. In terms of engine noise, is there a way to know which cabins are going to be susceptible to engine noise
So
and how to avoid those?
generally the cabins at the back of the ship are going to be closer to the motors. So you want to be not all the way to the back. Like those are the cabins that are literally all the way to the back. You're going to hear that noise, but it's not. It's not usually something that you hear. You might hear a roar like once when the ship is using the thrusters and moving away from the shore. But generally, it's not a lot of noise down there. You might get a little bit of fume smoke, smell, not smoke, but smell, exhaust. That's probably the worst of it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's something that I didn't know. So towards the back, that's called what? Is that the stern or the back?
The aft. The aft. 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 And yeah. So you don't want to be like at the very aft end. So maybe two or 3 cabins up is usually you're fine. And it depends how the wind is blowing too. So
okay, not in the aft then. Okay, so and then let's see, we're down to the last question here. Is there added value in booking next year's cruise now versus waiting 6 months?
yes, you will receive all of those lovely early booking discounts. Absolutely. Book it now. Take advantage of those early booking discounts. Get in, lock your choice in on what you want and where you want to go, and don't be stuck with the leftovers. So absolutely take advantage of those early booking discounts. Flights may not be available yet because airlines don't book a year out in advance. Airlines usually book 320 days from your return date. So it's okay though. There's all sorts of airlines that go from the United States over to Europe or to Asia or wherever. It's okay. Flights are easier than finding a river ship that only has 70 cabins on board.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So that's all the questions, Barb. I mean, I feel like we've kind of given anybody that's kind of just getting started or looking to take their first trip or even experienced. I mean, we've really answered a lot of questions over here from where to start, how to kind of make sure to get the right deal, how to make sure to get the right booking, specifics on cabins and where they're at. I really love how you explained like the food, how it goes with the different areas. I think that's something that is a gem for anybody that watched this, and obviously getting to learn about you. You've been doing this so long, and you have a ton of great glowing reviews from your clients. So I think anybody who is interested in a river cruise and comes across this video, what they should do is to obviously go to the website and fill out the form. You have a 30-question form that's going to find out exactly what they're looking for, and or call you. But what would you say to somebody who's interested, and how would you kind of help them?
So reach out to us via our website, www.just-vacations.com. You'll see a little button there. It says contact us. Go ahead, fill that out. That's a first chat, first 15 minutes. Fill it out at what works for you. If something on my calendar is full and you can't find exactly what you need, shoot me an email. Drop down to the bottom of the web page, and there's a inquiry there, and you can just say, hey, Barb, saw the video. I want to talk, but I'm not available during those hours. Put your phone number down and your email address and times that you're available, and I will do my darndest to be able to talk with you so that we can move forward in creating the perfect vacation for you. I welcome all customers. Questions? I love questions. I love these. This was so much fun. I had tons of fun answering all these questions for our customers and for our future customers. And I just would say, with us, our slogan is that we help customers. We help couples and adults narrow the choices that are so vast on the internet into creating their best fun itinerary. And I love putting together a puzzle. I say I put puzzles together, and we just combine everything into a workable itinerary and get it off to you.
Awesome. Could have said it better myself, Barb. So it's been an absolute blast. Everybody out there, don't DIY it. Call Barb. She's the expert. Thanks so much, Barb. And we will talk to you guys later.
Thank you,
Take care.
Dennis.